6000 años antes de Cristo, de forma accidental, nacía una bebida que cambiaría el rumbo de la historia. All TV, el programa cervecero. Bienvenidos a All TV, el programa para los amantes de la cerveza y para aquellos que a partir de hoy la van a amar. En los Estados Unidos conocimos la increíble fábrica de Firestone. Vamos a disfrutar la primera parte. Firestone Walker Brewing Company. Si nosotros queríamos la cervecería en la zona californiana, sin lugar a dudas, era esta. Y estamos con Matt Brandonson, que es el brewmaster, es el alma de cada cerveza. Hi, Matt.
Hello, how are you?
So exciting and happy. We start with the little history, because this brewing has very big heart, a lot of passion.
Well, Firestone Walker started in 1996. It actually started about 90 miles south of where we are today, in the vineyard property of the Firestone family, the Firestone Vineyard. So the brewery was born out of the wine world. Adam Firestone is a third generation wine grower, winemaker, and he and his brother-in-law, David Walker, conceived of the notion of starting a brewery, and they initially thought about doing barrel-fermented beers. And it was a very novel concept in 1996. And the first beer was really an English bitter that was fermented in medium toast American oak barrels. And they grew that business over the course of 10 years, making beer just for the local community. And this was in Santa Barbara County, wine country. And then in 2001, they moved the brewery here to this location in Paso Robles. Now, Paso Robles is another winemaking community. Paso Robles is a really welcoming community. They welcomed the brewery in. We had plenty of land and space to grow. So we celebrated our 25th anniversary just last year. So we're in our 26th year. We make all sorts of beers. We make English pale ales, like I said. We later made IPAs, like our Union Jack IPA. In more recent times, we've gotten into making hazy IPA. Firestone didn't build the original brewery here. It was built, oddly enough, by another winemaker, local winemaker in the Paso Robles region, and it was Slow Brewing Company. And Slow Brewing Company had already established itself. It started in 1988. And they built here a production brewery, and I came from Goose Island in Chicago to be the brewmaster in 2000. So
it's magic.
Yeah. Well, it was somewhat magic in that I probably should have done my homework, because I started working for this company, and one short year later, Firestone Walker ended up purchasing this brewery. That year, Firestone Walker made about 9,000 barrels of beer. The brewery was equipped to make something like 30,000 barrels of beer. So it was a perfect brewery for them to grow into. Yeah.
by step.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Since the first time, you think in the impossible beer. I know you work a lot to maybe find the perfect recipe. You are a passionate. Beer before glory.
Yeah, it says it right there on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a trait of most good brewers, is that somewhat endless pursuit of perfection that will never happen. I'm glad. I feel like I still have it. I've been at it a long time, and I still haven't made the perfect beer. I feel like I'm also a very curious brewer, and I think that's another trait of a great brewer, is to be curious. I also have an amazing team. Some of the brewers that I've been working with for 20 years. We're all of like mind, and we really all are very passionate about making better beer. And along the way, we got into barrel aging, we got into sour beer production or barrel re-fermentations, mixed culture fermentations. We've dabbled in a little bit of everything because we're curious. Funny enough, our best-selling beer is a very simple blonde ale called 805 that kind of took this local community by storm. But our passion is in hoppy beers and barrel-aged beers.
Different beer.
Which we'll see a little bit later as the barrel aging cellar, yeah.
Estamos con Eric Ponce. Él es el director de todo lo que respecta a las barricas aquí. Ese es el Barrel Age Management. Y nos va a contar acerca de todas estas bellezas y cómo las cuida y qué tipo de barricas. En fin, lo va a decir todo él. Hi, Eric.
Hello, how are you?
Here with the smell, my God.
Magnificent, beautiful. I'm so happy you guys are here today.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, start where the point of you want.
Yeah, so we're inside the barrel aging facility here in El Paso de Robles, California, Paso Robles at Firestone Walker Brewing Company. I oversee the maturation of what we call our vintage program, and that's the room we're in today. And these are all ex-spirit barrels that I've been aging beer in ex-spirit barrels for over 10 years. I work with some of the best distilleries and barrel brokers from around the world, so we're able to bring in some of the best spirit barrels that we can get our hands on. We bring in cognac barrels from France, Armagnac, tequilas, mezcals, different type of agave spirits, lots of rums, Jamaican rums, rum agricoles, lots of bourbon. Lots of different types of bourbon, high rise, high wheat, straight bourbon. I love Scotch. So pretty much everything you can imagine, we do bring in, and then we design a beer to mature in these barrels. And as these barrels arrive from these distilleries, we don't do anything to the interior of these barrels. We hope that the distillery dumps them and we get them as soon as we can. So when they arrive here to us, we open up that bung and they're still glistening and wet with that uncut spirit. And then within a week, we hope to have a beer that goes directly into that barrel. We bung it up and we let it sit in this room. We maintain this room at 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, and the liquid spends at least 1 year in the barrel. Yeah, 1 to 2 years. And then once we empty that barrel, we get rid of the barrel. We only use the barrel one time as well because we're extracting all that flavor of that spirit into that beer on that first use. So then we discard those and then we bring in brand new spirit barrels.
All these are one use only?
Yeah, one use, because we're extracting all of that flavor.
So expensive that.
It is. It's expensive, but it's definitely a labor of love. So it's always designing the base beer to showcase the spirit. So they meld really well. They get a marriage of beautiful flavors, just interacting with one another as that liquid spending time in that barrel. And then we design at the finish when we start tasting about 10 months in, and we start tasting the flavor profiles.
How many barrels do you have here?
Currently in this warehouse, around 1,600 filled bourbon barrels. Yeah. And it ranges from 1,500 to 2,000, just depending on my filling and racking. schedule.
En el próximo bloque, más de esta increíble fábrica Firestone. Beer, expertos en equipamiento cervecero, líderes en importación de equipamiento cervecero. Visita nuestro local en Rocha 1510, Barracas, y encontrá todo lo que necesitas para tu cerveza con calidad.
Nosotros amamos la cerveza, por eso nos encanta hacerla. Tener variedad, pero mucha variedad, muchas cervezas. Y aparte tenemos 2 bares, para poder tomar entre amigos y compartirla. Fronton, una birra hecha por y para los amigos.
BAC, Vini Asesoría Cervecera.
Capacitaciones y análisis sensorial, a la distancia e in situ, diseño y mejora de recetas, estandarización de procesos, maximización de la productividad, mejora y compras estratégicas. Mi nombre es José Vini y creé BAC para ayudarte a mejorar tus birras.
BAC, mejora tu productividad. Steiner, fundada en 1845, líder mundial en la industria del lúpulo, calidad, sostenibilidad e innovación de nuevas variedades y productos de lúpulo. Steiner, líder mundial en la industria del lúpulo. Birra más arte, Desarmadero Bar, en la esquina de Gorriti y La Valleja. Fermentis, easy to use, fácil de usar. Inoculá directamente o rehidratá con mayor flexibilidad. Fácil, limpio y sustentable. Más información, fermentis.com.
Si no ves el 3 picos, parate en punta de pie.
Lúpulos Andinos, organizadores del Congreso de Lúpulo. Gorila, cervecería argentina. La evolución de la involución. Firestone Walker, segunda parte. Which are the next step to you in recipes? What happened now? What happened with Matt?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think, again, the reason why I went to Belgium and the reason why I feel like I've been successful to this point is I'm more of a student of history, and I truly believe that really we don't necessarily invent new things, we just reimagine the things that have already happened before us. So I keenly pay attention to historical beer styles, and I love to take and put a twist of my own on them. Very easy example would be Pivo Pilsner, where we took a very common type of beer and just made ever so slight tweaks to modernize it. So I think the future lies at our fingertips in terms of what is already there. And I think what I'm so excited about modern brewers is this notion of, innovation and reinvention. It seems like brewers are really fascinated with lager brewing again. I'm very excited about that. I think brewers, have been somewhat distracted by seltzers and non-alcoholics and all these others.
Right.
However, you learn new techniques that then can be brought back to, like
The others.
Exactly. So I feel like it's all in a positive forward progression. I can't predict what the next great beer is going to be, but it's somewhere in between the lines of what we already know.
Tell me about the brew house.
So we're standing in actually between two brew houses. To our left is what was the original brew house up on the upper deck, and then down below an extension of that brew house. That brew house is approximately 100 hectoliter brew house, and it got us to the point of where Union Jack IPA was our best-selling beer. After that point, after about 2012, we needed more capacity, and we built a second brew house, which we're standing here, which is our larger 300 hectoliter brew house, which sounds massive, right? But it's still very much the same componentry of this smaller brew house. It allows us to add oats, it allows us to add a lot of hops and any other adjunct or anything else we want. And it also lets us do larger volumes of our best-selling beers. So we run two brew houses. I mean, you see some specialty grains there on the floor.
Yes.
But essentially, this is the kitchen of the brewery. We have something in and around 45 fermenting vessels, and they range in size from 100 barrels or around 100 hectoliters to as much as 1,500 barrels. So we have a range of size, again, for specialty beers or our large production beers. We have 2 bottle lines, 1 canning line, and 1 keg racking line, so we can do all the different packages.
In June, you have a very, very special festival.
Yeah.
Please tell, because Antares, our friends, came.
Yeah, so we started about 10 years ago what we call the Firestone Walker Invitational Beer Festival. And the whole concept there was to bring brewers from outside of our region and share those beers with our local fan base and really use it as an educational platform, but also just a celebration of great beer around the world. And then they share their best beers, and it's a really wonderful event. And yes, Antares is going to be here, so Argentina will be represented.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Because the spirit of our program is the same of your spirit. So we are so grateful to you because you open the doors of this kitchen and you show your soul in your recipes and creations. So thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Metamorfosis, cervecería de barrio. Parque Patricios.
Cada lugar y cada momento tienen un estilo distinto. Cada espacio se transforma con un sonido. ¿Y vos? ¿Sos capitán de tu vida?
Surprise, motherfucker.
De lunes a lunes, toma la exquisita cerveza artesanal Antares en La Plata, 56, Diagonal y Parador. Choperas Cabo de Frío, la solución en fabricación e instalación de choperas. Frío Beer, chillers y torpedos, micro y macro cervecerías, asesoramiento profesional, instalación, www.friobeer.com.ar. Ámsterdam, Friends Factory, La Plata, el lugar en tu mundo. Molinos BZ, el punto justo de la molienda para la elaboración de cerveza. Sudamericana de Filtrado Sociedad Anónima. Alta calidad, máxima eficiencia y rendimiento. Más de 50 años en la industria del filtrado. Cervecería artesanal Coleman. Un producto artesanal genuino. Coleman. Construyendo cervezas. Comienzan nuestras birras.
Bienvenidos al episodio 1840 de Nuestras Birras, donde hablamos de lo que se nos canta, la birra. En esta ocasión, tengo el agrado de compartir con ustedes Proyecto X, en busca de la lager perfecta. ¿Qué es Proyecto X? Son 4 cervezas, lager, parecidas, pero distintas, que lanzamos al mismo tiempo para que ustedes decidan cuál les gusta más. Las compran, votan y cuando termine el año vamos a elegir la que más votaron y va a quedar todo el año que viene. Así que ustedes tienen el poder de elegir la lager perfecta. Vamos a degustar una para que veamos qué está sucediendo aquí. Estos son números de lote, no son números de año. En un momento había gente que pensaba que eran distintas añadas de cerveza. Se dio la coincidencia que no. Esta claramente no es de 2006, esta tampoco es del futuro. 2013, bueno. Vamos con la 2006, una de las que más me gustan, pero no quiero sesgar a nadie. Pero fíjense esta belleza. Miren qué lindo color que tiene. Doradito, una ligera turbidez. Una espuma ahí bastante duradera, es compacta. Un olor a pan, galletita. Fantástica. La diferencia entre estas 4, estos son... Hay 2 que son misma receta, pero tienen distinta levadura. Entonces el perfil de este va a ser completamente distinto. Y otra que va a ser un poquito más amarga y otra un poquito más dulce. Entonces queremos ver si es la más esterosa, es la más amarga, es la más dulce, es la menos esterosa. Si bien son parecidas, hay sutilezas que es importante que ustedes nos digan cuál les gusta más y las empezamos a hacer. Siempre estamos hablando de lagers artesanales. Son 100% malta, pueden estar pasteurizadas, pero muy poquitito. Tiene una amargura un poquito más alto que en promedio. Van a tener mejor espuma porque no tiene ningún aditivo, no tiene nada de maíz, no tiene nada de arroz. Usamos lúpulo y no extracto de lúpulo. Todo el sabor que queremos en una lager para que ustedes nos digan cuál les gusta más. Así que ustedes tienen la responsabilidad ahora. 2006, 2025, 2013, 2017. Van a la tienda, tuki, están baratísimas, las compran y tienen un QR que ahora se lo saqué, pero está, se los prometo. Aprietan en el QR y votan. Las lagers artesanales se vienen fuerte. Tenemos el tremendo desafío de hacer lagers prolijitas pero sabrosas. Así que bueno, estamos trabajando para ustedes. Nos vemos en el próximo capítulo 2500 de Nuestras Birras. Hacemos lo que se nos canta porque hagamos de lo que birra. Salud.